gonna run through some of the projects here in the shop. So if you're here specifically for the 4-door EK hatch, just go ahead and skip about 2.5 minutes in and get right into the video. I appreciate it. As for the TDI hatch, it quit running about a month ago. I dicked with it for a day and really couldn't figure out why it's not starting. Could be the lift pump, fuel pump, a computer issue, a limp mode. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know too much about the diesels. Brandon got the Ranger out, IFO prep. We plan on taking that and the lifted CRV. And since we're already talking about the CRV, this runs, drives, steering works. The front's basically completely tidied up. There are a couple things that I need to go over on. This tire keeps going flat. Not too concerned about that. I do need to get shocks installed on the rear and a sway bar. I don't know if it's necessary, but I'm gonna do it anyway. There's a lot of temporary stuff. Radiator, I haven't heat shrinked any of these yet. And the shift linkage needs to be welded permanently. The drive shaft needs to be put in. There's a lot of stuff that I want to take care of on this before we go to IFO this coming weekend. Power stroke, I ordered an ECU for it. It didn't fix it. I have a new fuse box and it's called a gem box. It should be here later this week, so hopefully we can get this figured out. I don't know if I want to cut it up or make it like a side-by-side. So I could make it all-wheel drive, but I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with this one. The Duramax, there's a lot of things that it needs, primarily a turbo, front tires, ball joints, and then it's gonna need a tune after I get the turbo. So this thing's probably gonna be parked for a while. I have an Integra for sale. Still managed to have a Golf that's on air ride. This is for sale too. And one last question for you guys. Should I put this on the daily driver? Obviously it's just sitting on there and it's not lined up, but it's meant for a CRV. Or, flip it over to a picture here. Should I put it on the Civic? I have plans for the Civic, so this might fit it better, but let me know what you guys think. Since I have the hatch coupe, I won't be needing this as a backup anymore, so I'm gonna get rid of it. We're gonna be turning this 4-door Florida EK into a 4-door hatchback EK. I'm gonna show all the inside of everything as we're cutting things apart, give you guys a couple pointers on what you need to do to make this thing happen. Bite the bullet and get into this. Start stripping these down and keep you guys with me the whole time. So obviously you got to remove like trunk lid, all your panels here. These actually unbolt down here, but just pop them out of the way for now. I'm going to be removing the entire headliner. You'd have to take your lights, sun visors, and if there's handles in the Civics, I don't know, Integras have them. Pull all that apart and then get everything basically stripped down. The seat belts can stay. Obviously these speakers and half this tray can go. I'm going to keep this main section here. At some point when the window and everything's gone, I'm going to do a straight cut. But for back here, for reference, I measured 7.5 off this, and it's 12 inches off the center of this. That's where the outside edge of this trunk's gonna stop. So grab yourself a tape measure, measure back. It's approximately 7.5, and this is approximately 12. And then what I did, notice how there's a shadow from the straight edge. Take like a level or something, get your marks, mark them out on each side, mark out your center point, get this centered up. I actually stuck my phone underneath of the trunk braces in here that hold your, they're actually the springs that hold your trunk open. I pinched it until this shadow lined up perfect. Obviously I can't show you with the phone right now, but I lined my shadow up, drew with my chalk a straight cut. At some point, these do taper off for the trunk lid, but this will give you the straight cut that you need for the hatch trunk lid to seam up pretty well. Again, all of this, everything has to come out. I'm gonna be pulling these panels, pulling this panel, the entire headliner's coming out of here. I plan on keeping these seat belts in this car. I do plan on using the 4-door seat and the 4-door seat belts, but I'll let you know if that changes. I think that it will be a smoother operation if I leave it. Although, like, typically the hatchback would be frameless and these could just fold down. I don't think that the panels are gonna work out as clean of a look if I try and put the 2-door hatchback seats in here. This is gonna kind of get funky if I do that. But if I leave the 4-door stuff, all of that should work out perfectly. This is what we're working with. Hopefully I made the cuts right. Okay, we're off a 1/2 inch, right? Move over here. What the fuck? All right, guys. I'm losing my voice, so bear with me. So obviously the drip rails didn't line up. I took a lot of measurements, ended up drilling out 1 pinch weld over here because this bottom layer came with. But over here, drilled out more, thinking that I could get the top layer only. But I gotta bend this down some more right here, but kind of get a little bit better of a visual on it. But I think that these are gonna line up a lot better like this. So I cut them so that I could switch sides. And again, I think that that is a much more appropriate angle. I have the quarter panels on. Pretty fucking good fitment. And we have the entire trunk lid. These drip rails, I still have room to get a little sliver of metal up in here so that I can fill that in. But the drip rails are more in line than they were before. Same thing on this side. Quarter panel as well. All I gotta do is tidy up the bottom down here. Quarter panels are completely welded in. Most people would call these booger welds, but they are actually tack welds all the way around. Some people don't understand that body panels warp a lot easier. So everything here, you literally go like every 4 inches and just tack weld, and then you start on the other side and you come back. You never want to get it too hot because metal expands when it gets hot. So if you were to just lay this hot the whole way, the metal would eventually expand closer to itself. And then when it cools, it would actually contract, causing a dip elsewhere. As for the inside, I went approximately every 2 inches and tack welded back down to the floor. And on the outside, I actually rolled this metal back up that I cut off wheeled off just to kind of seal it up a little bit more. I'm probably gonna go around with seam sealer, but just to get a general idea of what I had to do to make this work. Honestly, it does look more complete with the trunk lid actually on it. I mean, just the overall shape, like it looks so thin right here by the pillar. So now that it's on, kind of feels complete. But real quick, I want to walk through like the final steps. Like obviously I have the whole frame welded in. I went all the way down and around, but there's inside stuff. So let's go over it. So obviously the hinges just bolt back into place. These shocks bolt right back into place. Not too much going on there, but let's talk about the seat and the wiring harness. Again, this is something that there is no instructions on how to do. So I planned on leaving the seat because of the bolsters here, kind of fill in the back seat. I plan on keeping this. I'm gonna cut it completely back flush here. I'm gonna take a piece of conduit, cut a slit in it, and slide it over. So this is just gonna be one rounded edge all the way across. So you can't really cut your hands. Same thing, I'm gonna turn here. I'm gonna cover all this stuff because these are your seat belts. These are your life support. I don't want these moving whatsoever. So I'm gonna wrap the corner here, bring it back, bring it down. I'm probably gonna branch right off of this. I'm gonna bring it back here, just above the taillight. And then for your harness, this is different than the 4-door. So you got to de-pin it. There are like kits that you can buy. It's a pain in the ass regardless of how you do it. But these are all color coordinated. For instance, you have green and red here. That plugs in. This is upside down right now. You have green and red in the bottom corner here. So on this side, we have a green and yellow. And the top corner on this side, we have green and yellow. So all of these are color coordinated. You just got to pin them out and put them where they respectively belong. So that takes care of all of that. Then everything along these ways should just button up. This would go to your speaker that goes back here, which we may or may not actually run. Your tail light, obviously your ground wire goes back in here somewhere. And we got our other tail light. And then this plugs in up inside the pillar somewhere so that we can take care of our trunk lights. Panels, if you were to put this panel in right now, obviously we're gonna have to notch around here and then it sticks up just past. There's no right way to do this. You're just gonna have to trim it. I suggest getting tin snips and just trimming slowly but surely until it seems like it fits perfect. Same thing, if you're gonna put these rear panels in, there's no real right way to do this. So again, we're gonna have to trim where we think the seat is. And then, like I said, I don't know if we can run speakers. Doesn't look like it. The entire seat belt is in this area. But we can tin snip around that. There are covers that go over top of this. We can snip around those. And then the panel will just go in there. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. But I'm trying to give you guys the basic concept of what you're getting into when it comes to this. I want to give you guys the basic concept of everything that you're going to be getting into if you attempt this at home. There is a lot to it. There's a lot more than people think. It's not just snip, snip, weld, and you're done. There's a lot of body filler, the drip rails. Like, it's not made to be done, but it can be done. So you gotta make it work. Same thing with the headliner. I'm not sure if the hatch headliner works better, but it is longer than the sedan. Mine is wrapped, so I'm gonna try and get away with using this. Probably gonna stop a little bit shy of where this plastic trim would wrap this up. But I'm gonna attempt to use that. Same thing, all of this needs welded inside. I cut it so that there is some overlap, but all of that needs welded. I obviously cut too much here, not knowing that this wasn't gonna sit all the way back there. But all of this can be welded in. And then if it matters to some people, I plan on trying to box this back in. The taillight obviously is gonna take some space. And same thing on this other side. I trimmed a little bit closer after I realized the other side was too much. But all of that's gonna need to be welded to ensure that this isn't going anywhere, especially in the incident of a car accident. Another small detail that I don't want you guys to miss out on. So there's a hard body line on the sedan that isn't on the hatch. Obviously, I bent the shit out of this and it doesn't look as good. But as I welded from top to bottom on this, and I worked my way down, and then I lined up this section before I even cut the quarter out and started working my way up, this body line was never gonna just work out. So I either had to put the body line on this, or I had to get rid of the body line as it fades out. Obviously, these welds look like shit. I haven't even wire wheeled them, but my plan was to slowly just fade this out into the body panel. There's already gonna be filler here, so this should slowly crown out to nothing. But that is another detail you guys are gonna have to work with. If you guys have any other questions about this, anything that I didn't cover, I'm trying my hardest to make everything covered. But obviously, if there's anything that I missed, you guys are having way more questions than I would have anticipated. Just go ahead and drop comments. I'm willing to make a second video. I do plan on finishing all of this up. I'm just trying to get the basics out there sooner than later, I guess.